Hello everyone, welcome back to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 15th of May 2021. In this video, we'll be dealing with this couple of issues. The context of this article is about children's rights. The impact of this pandemic has been severe on children because when we're talking about children, we have to consider their developmental age and the needs that they have when they are growing up and the rights that UNCRC, that is the United Nations Convention on Rights of Children. So this convention has been the model for legislations across the world because this is the most ratified convention across the world. There is consensus that children should not be uh, feeling vulnerable in situations like this. But the reality is, this second COVID wave has hit them the most because they've left orphan, and there is a flurry of messages from social media to adopt these children. So, what is the role of the state? What can the civil society do about it? And how should we proceed further to deal with this orphan children whose parents have left them because of the wrath of this COVID pandemic? The other day, we have seen an article trying to explain what are the rights of children, at the same time what is the legal procedure to adopt a kid. So this uh, article is written by a police officer to make people aware about the procedures and steps that one must be aware of to avoid any issues after adoption, or if they really want to avoid the trap of child traffickers, they have to know certain things. What are they? It is explained in this article. Firstly, if an individual finds an orphan, or if he finds that a child is left vulnerable because of the pandemic and both his parents or her parents left him or her because of this pandemic, they should immediately call the 1098 toll free number, which is an outreach service by the Women and Child Development Department nodal agency. So at the same time, there is also a NGO, Childline India Foundation, which operates round the day and all days across the country. We can use that service as well. This is an example in our GS2 syllabus where we can quote this as an example. The role of NGOs and civil society in our country. What is the name of the organization? Childline India Foundation. Please remember this name. You can use this as an example in your answers. So this NGO has been functioning round the clock to ensure that complaints and information about orphan children is stored on a centralized database along with the government. The government of India, through the Women and Child Development Department, maintains a national tracking system for missing and vulnerable children. There is a district protection officer who is concerned with this tracking and updating the system. So one can even intimate information about the orphan children found to the district protection officer if they are not able to reach out to the helplines mentioned before. The other methods that one can employ is to use the emergency response facility. We have a number called 112. You can even use that and reach out to the police department. In the police department, there are special personnel who are trained to deal with juveniles. So what this child outreach centers should do is they should reach out to the government. According to the design of the Juvenile Justice Act, there is a child welfare committee in every district. So in every district there is this CWC, and within 24 hours, the outreach agency, which is coordinating with the information of this missing children, should intimate the child welfare committee. This committee will carry out an inquiry, and they will take the appropriate action. Whether if they feel that it is fit to hand over to the relative, they'll ensure that the child is handed over to the relative. Or if they feel that if the child is less than 6 years old, they need to be put in a special home. So this special home will become the adoption center, and if any interested parent is eligible to adopt as per the law, they can reach out to this special homes and adopt these kids. So once the child welfare committee decides that a child is free to be adopted, NRIs can do that, and sometimes even foreigners can also adopt the kids. But we have to remember that there is something called the Hague Code of Convention, which deals with a particular framework when it comes to dealing with inter-country and intra-country adoptions. Also, Supreme Court plays a very important role in this aspect because there is a case, Sampurna Behrua versus Union of India case. In this particular case that happened in 2018, Supreme Court delivered a judgment saying that all the institutions in the union territories and states should be registered. What is the purpose of this registration? To track them, because a lot of these NGOs which act as child adoption centers take contributions from elsewhere, and there is no accountability and transparency in this system. In order to ensure that accountability and transparency in the system is there, and certain child traffickers open these NGOs and cheat people, the government wants to have a track of where these children are going to. That is the reason, and therefore Supreme Court plays the role of guardians of children in case the parents passed away. Also, we have another important case of that of Kailash Satyarthi. We are talking about the Bachpan Bachao Andolan versus Union of India case. So, in this Bachpan Bachao Andolan case that happened in 2013, all the state police departments heads and their respective director generals of police were directed to register an FIR the moment a case of trafficking or abduction is reported. At least one police officer not below the rank of assistant SI in each police station is mandatorily required to undergo training to deal with children. So this is the importance given by Supreme Court for children rights, because they happen to be the future of this country. The most vulnerable part of the society is definitely children, and when they are orphaned, state should take up the responsibility of these kids. Even in 2017, the Supreme Court directed the National Police Academy in Hyderabad to actually train the IPS officers to deal with this specific cases with respect to children very sensitively. They should be child friendly. We are talking about a model of friendly policing. So therefore, according to the Article 39's objective of ensuring that in a very tender age, children are not abused, it is the responsibility of the governments across the country to take an initiative to help these vulnerable section of the society in this unprecedented times. We even had the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. They wrote to the chief secretary of all the states and union territories to have a helpline where they can reach out to the people who are trying to inform the NCPCR about abandoned children. So this assistance from states at this point of time is definitely necessary, and there should be a dedicated a window or dedicated personnel dealing with this aspect, because we cannot afford to lose the track of these children who are the most vulnerable section of the society in the present days. Out of line. This article is regarding the tussle between a governor versus the executive, that is chief minister. So we're talking about the case in West Bengal. So recently we all know that West Bengal elections came to a conclusion and the party in power, TMC, has retained power, and most importantly the central point of contention is the political violence that followed after the results. So governor of the state visited those violence hit areas and tried to examine the ground level reality. The question here is, there is a constitutional principle that constitutional heads should not air their differences with the elected regimes, and that too in the public. They have to settle the issues amicably, but that is not happening because governor is appointed by the center and the CM is elected directly by the people. So there is a constant tussle because the governor appointed by the center is from a party that is not the one in power in the state. This tussle is creating a political rivalry, but it should not transgress the principles laid down in the constitution. This friction went to such an extent where the CM of the state, Mamata Banerjee, in December has actually uh, appealed to the president to call this governor back because he was continuously criticizing irrationally, according to her, because she believed that this governor is not acting in a non-partisan way and is just acting on the behest of the BJP-led union government. So this article writer believes that the sanctity of institutions should be respected. The work of governor is not to interfere in the work of chief minister. Definitely, in the case of West Bengal, post-poll violence is not at all commendable. But we have to remember that law and order is the responsibility of the executive. That is, it is CM's responsibility. So what governor should have done is demand a report where accountability is needed instead of coming out and criticizing publicly. The objective here is to maintain the sanctity of the institutions by ensuring checks and balances. So if they directly come into conflict with the CM, it would not serve the purpose. Rightly so, the governor can demand a report from the police department about the actions taken to contain, and also seek a show cause notice to understand why the police were not able to handle the situation. And in the case of not being able to have that kind of a report, he can reprimand the state government for not acting on time and then report it to the president. So this is the normal flow of actions that generally happens, but that is not the case in this scenario. So the point we have to understand here is we should not let institutions transgress the responsibility of the others. What is needed at this point of time is to demand accountability from the caretaker government when the transition was happening. There is no justification for violence, but it does not mean that there is a justification for governor's office overreach, according to the article writer. So that is the uh, crux of this article. The takeaway is we have to respect the checks and balances created by the constitution. At the end of the day, we have to believe in the principle of constitutionalism, where there is a limitation on every power and the ultimate authority lies with people. And when people gave a mandate to the government, that is elected government is responsible for ensuring that this sanctity is maintained. Only when this sanctity is not maintained, when the state government denies responsibility of submitting a report, only in that case governor must use his discretionary powers. That is the gist of this article.